Hello everyone. This is Trevor Truck, and today I'm gonna be continuing the story called The Encounter. And we are beginning here at chapter 3. If you recall, in the last 2 chapters, the main plot of this story is that the protagonist's brother went on an expedition to find Bigfoot with his weird friends. And his brother is now missing. So now the protagonist is in the forest and trying to find his brother. So let's begin with chapter 3. "This is a new development," said John excitedly. I was off to the side, doing some searching of my own. I quickly stopped my search to join John and see what he discovered. It was a cigarette package. It looked crushed, but I could at least recognize the brand. John picked it up and examined it. It was empty. "It must have been Paul's," reasoned John. "So we might be going in the right direction," I said. John nodded and stashed the package in his pocket. "Let's keep going," he said. We continued walking down an unknown path. Periodically, John would check his watch. I guess he was calculating when we'd need to turn back to meet up with everyone back at the tree. "Hey," I exclaimed a few minutes later. I had spotted a lighter. It was red and had a logo of an angry-looking bull. I recognized it as my brother's. I had seen him use it on the campus grounds. I picked it up and looked at it. There was no damage or any indication of it being tampered with. I even flicked on the flame, and it worked fine. "Paul must have seen something," said John. "Along the way, he must have been careless and dropped things." I silently agreed, even as John began sniffing the air again. I sometimes wondered if John was half dog. We continued walking, navigating around a small pond. We were just about to completely pass by it when I spotted something I recognized. It was my brother's hunting knife, his pride and joy. It had been passed down from my dad. I wasn't really worried about it, so my brother got it. Paul loved it, keeping it sharp and clean. He brought it with him on every nature expedition. The knife rested on the edge of the pond, with the handle submerged and the blade very visible. There were bloodstains along the blade. I picked it up, urging John to look at my discovery. We both looked closely at the knife. A few long strands of hair had stuck to the blood. Had Paul made a kill? If so, I could see no evidence of it elsewhere. We looked around the area for any carcasses. John even got down on his hands and knees, sniffing the ground. When he got back up, he confirmed that no dead animals were around. I just gave John a weird look. I questioned this man's stability. We found bloodstains on the tall blades of grass, but at some point, these stains tapered off, and we no longer had a guide. Something clearly was wrong about all this. "We're being watched," said John, suddenly. He stopped walking and so did I. "Huh? How do you know?" I asked. Before John answered, I could see it. It was very subtle, very easy to miss. Poking out of a bush up ahead was the elongated muzzle of a rifle. I could even see a scope. I could not tell what was behind the bush. I assumed it was some type of hunter. All I knew was that the rifle was being aimed steadily in our direction. Whoever was behind the thick bush held the gun with a stillness that communicated years of gun experience. "What should we do?" I whispered. "It's time we go back to the tree," answered John. "But what if? Just follow my lead." Before I could react, John slammed into me, knocking my breath out. I fell to a thick patch of tall grass, and John toppled over me. "Let's go," he exclaimed. Clumsily, he got up and scampered off ahead. With the tall grass and the bushes, we had some pretty good cover. It took me a while to get a good pace. I was still trying to get my breathing to return to normal. John could have at least warned me. As far as I could tell, no shots were fired. We ran like hell until we were sure no one was following us. Chapter 4. It was about noon, and almost everyone was back at the tree. Professor Stevens was still out there, which gave me some hope. Perhaps he had found Paul, or a major clue as to his whereabouts. Brad opened up his backpack and passed around a bag of chips for everyone to share. Other than myself and John, no one had found any good leads. John explained everything we had found and showed them. I chimed in later to discuss the rifle pointing at us. A half hour passed, and I was more than ready to begin searching again. Professor Stevens still had not shown up. We were all waiting for him to hear about what he may have found, but we were all getting a little impatient. John suggested we split up once again. Harry volunteered to look for Professor Stevens to see what was happening. Harry felt he had a good idea of where Stevens may have gone off to. Meanwhile, John asked Brad to stay put at the tree in case Professor Stevens showed up. "If he does show," said John, "make sure you call me and tell me if you found anything." Before leaving, John also said, "We meet back here at 2:30 no matter what. Got it?" Everyone agreed. I set off with John, and we took the same exact route as before. This time, though, we were more careful. As we entered the area with the gunman, I silently cursed as we crouched below the height of a berry bush. The gun was still there, a small part of it poking out of the bush ahead of us. Something struck me as odd, though. The gun was completely still. It looked like it was in the same position as the last time we saw it. I looked down on the ground and spotted a sizable stone. It was smooth and would be perfect for what I had in mind. Maybe against my better judgment, I hurled the stone at the bush with the rifle. The stone collided with the bush, but the rifle remained where it was. Surely, if someone were there would have been movement. John just gave me a strange look, as if I was the insane one. I kept looking at the rifle. No movement. Nothing. Curiosity won me over. I didn't wait for John as I crept toward the bush. I kept my movements slow and quiet. My plan was to flank the bush to get a view of the gunman from behind. However, I realized something profound. There was no gunman. I motioned John to come over to where I was. I wanted him to see the contraption that was constructed. Someone had gathered a few bricks and tree limbs to make a pedestal for the gun so that it aimed itself straight ahead. I could not help but think someone had done this to deter unwanted visitors. Maybe there were hunters who felt they owned the place. Either way, I calmed down just a bit. "That's odd," said John, standing next to me. "And, I noticed something else. Look around. Notice the trees." I did as John told me and realized what he saw. On many of the trees, there were areas where the bark had worn off. It was almost as if someone had marked the trees. "Definitely a Bigfoot," said John. "That's what they do, They take large sticks and knock them against trees. It's how they communicate with one another. And that contraption with the bricks and sticks, that might be a Bigfoot invention." I had to resist rolling my eyes. John bent down and picked up a sturdy stick. He began striking the nearby tree about 5 times, and then stopped to listen. "Sometimes you get a response," said John. "Sure. Let's keep going." Actually, I could have sworn that I heard some tree knocks in the distance as we started to walk again. "All right, everyone. That's chapters 3 and 4. And if you're really interested in this series, I do plan to continue the story. And I hope, even if you don't enjoy the content, maybe this helps you to relax and feel at ease. At least that's what I hope. So anyway, that's going to be it for now, but I'll come back with the next few chapters later on. Thank you so much for listening, and have a good day. Goodbye.